Our second commandment is this: make your promises sparingly and keep them faithfully, no matter what it costs you. Ecclesiastes 5, verse number 4, when you make a vow to God, do not delay to pay it, for he has no pleasure in fools. Pay what you have vowed. Better not to vow than to vow and not pay. Though this text is talking about keeping your promises to God, it also applies to keeping your promises to everyone. Don't be like a politician who makes all kinds of promises that he tells everybody just to try to get into the office, but then he doesn't keep them. Instead, be true to your word. As Jesus taught, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Matthew 5, verse 37. A Christian's word should be worth more than gold. We should keep our promises even if it hurts to do so, as David wrote about in Psalm 15, verse number 4. How would you like it if the Lord was to go slack on his promises that he made? You know, Jesus said he would go and prepare a place for us in John chapter 14. What if he didn't do that? Would it upset you? Of course it would, because it would mean that God doesn't keep his word. However, we know that God will never fail to keep his word. As Peter points out, 2 Peter 3, verse number 9, the Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some count slackness, but is long-suffering toward us, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. Just as God never fails to keep his promises, we should never fail to keep our promises to God or to man. It's so easy to make promises to God when you are in a bad situation. It's like a man who thinks he's about to drown, and he starts making all kinds of promises to God about how he's going to live for him, how he's going to give his money to him, how he's going to do all these things for God. But then the man realizes he can just stand up, and the water is not as deep as he thought it was. And then he immediately tells God, never mind, I was just kidding. We must be people of our word, even if we make a dumb promise like Jephthah did in Judges 11, verse number 30. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord and said, if you will indeed deliver the people of Ammon into my hands, then it will be that whatever comes out of the doors of my house to meet me when I return in peace from the people of Ammon shall surely be the Lord's, and I will offer it up as a burnt offering. So Jephthah advanced toward the people of Ammon to fight against them, and the Lord delivered them into his hands. And he defeated them from Aurora as far as Minnith, 20 cities, and to Abel Keramim with a very great slaughter. Thus the people of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. When Jephthah came to his house at Mizpah, there was his daughter coming out to meet him with timbrels and dancing, and she was his only child. Besides her, he had neither son nor daughter. And it came to pass, when he saw her, that he tore his clothes and said, alas, my daughter, you have brought me very low. You are among those who trouble me, for I have given my word to the Lord and cannot go back on it. So she said to him, my father, if you have given your word to the Lord, do to me according to what has gone out of your mouth, because the Lord has avenged you of your enemies, the people of Ammon. Then she said to her father, let this thing be done for me. Let me alone for 2 months, that I may go and wander in the mountains and bewail my virginity, my friends and I. So he said, go. And he sent her away for 2 months, and she went with her friends and bewailed her virginity on the mountains. And it was so at the end of 2 months that she returned to her father, and he carried out his vow with her which he had vowed. So she knew no man. And it became a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went 4 days each year to lament the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite. As we just read, Jephthah vowed to sacrifice the first thing that met him if he returned safely from battle with a victory. He did win, and his daughter, his only child, greeted him. As painful as it was, Jephthah kept his promise. Now we'll say this, while some think our text means that he slaughtered his daughter for God, others believe that this is to be interpreted as he gave his daughter over to the Lord and she would remain a virgin and unmarried for the rest of her days. But the main point is that he kept his promise despite how rash it was. What if someone fools you into making a promise? Should you still keep your word? Well, Joshua did. Remember how those men dressed up and acted like they came from a long way and wanted to make a covenant with Joshua in Joshua chapter 9, but they were lying? Even though they should have been destroyed, Joshua made a covenant with them and kept the covenant even after he knew he was lied to. It would not be easy to keep a promise made under false pretenses, but if at all possible, we should keep our word. If we learn anything from this commandment, it is don't give your promise lightly. Think about the situation and consider it carefully before you make a promise.